Welcome back, guys. I thought I would do a short video tutorial on how to find the slope of a line when you're only given 2 points. Of course, you could put the points on the graph, but the easiest way to do it is just mathematically to calculate it. So the big thing to remember about slope, if I can write this morning, is that we often call slope our m value in those equations, y equals mx plus b. But what it's really representing is the rise over the run, which the rise is our delta y, or our change in y, and the run is our delta x, or our change in x. So here in number 1, where we want to find the slope between these 2 points, we can set up that we want our m, and we're looking for delta y over delta x. But to find our delta y, we do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now some people get confused with this notation, y2 and x2 and all that stuff. It's just meaning which point is your first point and which point is your second point. So I'm just going to take my points in order and say that that point on my left is my first point and 8, -4 is my second point. So then I'm going to plug in the value. So y2 would be the y value from the second point, sorry, not comma, minus y1. Then x2, my x value from the second point, minus -2, my x value from my first point. Ignore problem 2 for the current time. -4 minus 5 gives me -9. 8 minus a -2 is actually going to give me a positive, or turn into addition, because minus a negative turns into addition, because it's the opposite of subtraction, or the opposite of a negative. And that gives me -9/10, which if I would want to write as a decimal, I could write -0.9, and sometimes I put my negatives up high on the number. I'm going to do that again just so you guys can see it. So I sometimes put it like that so that it's further away from my equal symbol. That's all up to you, whether you put it right in front or a little bit higher. But my slope there would be -9/10. I could leave it in the fraction form if I wanted, or I could write it in the decimal form. Depends on how you like to see it. So if, especially if this was a challenge for you, try number 2 here for a second. I'm going to grab some coffee, and then I will be back to talk through that. I'm going to take a different process on number 2, though. So this process that I showed right here, this is the very formalized process that would always work, and especially with positive and negative values, it's nice to think through that formal process. But with number 2, I can do this a whole lot easier. To find my delta y, or my delta x, I can really just look at what's happened. So if I start at a y of 7 and I go to a y of 4, my change to get there was a -3. If my x value starts at 6 and goes to a value of 2, my change to get there was -4. So because I see -3 over -4, the negatives cancel each other out, and I get that my slope is 3/4, or if I wanted to write that as a decimal, it would be 0.75 or 75/100ths. And that is how I find the slope of that line. So I could take that whole formal y2 minus y1 process, x2 minus x1, but I'm going to get the same result as I just did. So please let me know if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns about finding slope. Otherwise, I will see you guys in class. Have a wonderful day.